Jim Dunaway hates Georgia. He's an Alabama guy.
I mean, it'd be nerve-wracking for sure. Like, as you guys talk about it more, I don't know if I want that responsibility yet, but one day.
I think it'll be interesting to see who the Ohio State voters are. I will say that. I mean, that should be out today. I don't know how quickly they'll have that out. But who votes for Ohio State, I'll be interested. Seeing, in the coaches poll, there was one vote for Michigan.
Right.
As number one. That's a coach. It's like you're number one till you get beat. And there are a lot of coaches that feel that way.
Coaches usually are slow to change.
Yeah, you're number one till you get beat. So I would be interested. I don't think you'll get a Michigan vote. There was a Texas vote for number one in the coaches poll.
That's possible.
I don't know if you'll get a Texas vote in the AP. I think they'll be split primarily between Georgia and Ohio State, but I can't say that I don't think anybody else will get a vote.
So where is Alabama? Alabama was 5 in the coaches poll. Where will they be in the AP poll? EGU first.
I still think that that's a good spot for them. I don't think they'll go higher than that, but I could see them maybe going as low as 7, dropping 2 spots.
I think that's their lowest ranking since 2009, if I remember correctly.
The number 5?
Number 5.
Yeah.
So if they come out 5 in the AP poll, that will match what it was then.
Which is where they'll be. Like, I am willing to say right now there will be 3 teams. Well, so if one team is ranked differently, that means at least 2 are, primarily. Yeah. I mean, I guess in 25.
So then I would do 7.
No. I'm trying to think of how many teams I'm willing to say are ranked differently in the AP versus the coaches poll. I don't think it'll be that many. And
I think it's a crap show after you get out of the top 10.
Yeah.
It'll be all a jumbled mess. But do you think Alabama's 5?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I think the top 5 will look identical to the coaches poll. Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Alabama. I think it'll be absolutely identical.
I think Texas will be ahead of Oregon. I think Texas will be 3. And I have a feeling that Alabama will be either 4 or 6, depending on how the media sees them.
So almost going ahead of Alabama.
Yeah. Media people, in my opinion, seem to have a wider range of emotions when it comes to making selections in the preseason.
Well, I think media people are more apt to get caught up in preseason hype than coaches are. I think, for instance, I'll use Nick Saban as an example. He's now a media person. But the reason Nick Saban likes Ole Miss this year is because he said they can finally compete up front. He's like, they couldn't compete with us in Georgia up front. I think Nick Saban, or a coach, looks at a team that way. They know the roster. Like, you could go to Eli Drinkwitz right now, or he might be I'm trying to think of a better example. Go to Lane Kiffin, and you could ask him that, like, why do you think you're closer to Georgia than you were last year? And he would probably tell you, we've gotten better at the defensive front. Mm-hmm. I don't know that media people are good at that. I think media people are apt to get caught up in the hype. Yeah. And Ole Miss is hype right now, so I think Ole Miss will be high in the media poll. Media people look at things like Missouri's schedule and say, that is as favorable an SEC schedule as you can get anymore. I don't know how many coaches look at it that way. I think coaches tend to look more at roster and players and coach. I think we on the media side tend to look more. And again, part of this too, EG, is Dunaway and I did the poll differently. Like, my top 25, preseason top 25, I was saying I think this team will win the national championship. Mm-hmm. And I think they will beat number 2 to do it. And I think teams 3 and 4 will be in the playoff. And I think these top 10 teams will be. That's the way I did it.
Yeah. And I did mine with, these are the best 25 teams right now, regardless of schedule, with no results yet.
And that's the nuances of it all, though, because
that's right. And the AP does not tell you how to vote. They tell you rank the teams in the top 25.
Welcome in Braves Country to another episode of the Pennant Grace. My name is Emily Grace McWhorter. This is Ush Sisk, and we are the Pennant Grace. We have a lot to get to today, but first thing on the agenda is Roback.
I'm wearing Roback today.
Looks great.
Yeah, I needed a little pick-me-up. I don't know why. I'm so gloomy.
Well, I'm picking
down and depressed, but I am. And so I was like, well, if I look good, that'll help me feel good.
Yeah.
And Roback lets me do that. Roback.com, you go there, you pick out what you want. Love the polos, by the way. Great collar. If you're like me, you like a good crisp collar on your polo. Great collar. You're going to look good there. You're going to enter code PG20 at checkout, and that's going to save you 20%. So you're going to look good and you're going to save money. That's an unbeatable combination.
So we have titled today's episode, Have the Braves Hit Rock Bottom Yet?
Bam, rock bottom. Yeah.
Are we here?
Yeah.
Have we arrived? Have we arrived in style? We're going to get to it all. This is also kind of a Braves therapy session as a whole. So if you have thoughts, leave them in the chat. We'll get to it. But you guys know us. The Pennant Grace is still optimistic. We're going to leave the emotion out of this slightly.
Yeah.
And we're going to give you guys our best take on what the rest of the season holds, some opportunities for growth, what these next few series mean, and if the playoffs are still viable.
Think of EG and I as your therapist. Now,
Yes.
I don't have any formal training in therapy, actually.
Shockingly, I don't either.
But I feel good that we can pull people through on this. So I want to preface it with no spin going to happen here. No way to describe yesterday other than a collapse. So, and I would even use, without hyperbole, the phrase epic collapse.
Epic. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we'll get into that when we go through that series. There's a lot to get into. A lot happened in that Colorado series, and other than just losing 2 out of 3. Epic collapse. Overall, as we sit here in the middle of August, this team is very disappointing. And I do not have high hopes as far as any type of significant run. Now, I still believe, I'll stick with my original prediction, that the Braves find a way into the playoffs and are likely a first-round loss.
So Goose says, pack it up. I do not want to make it to the postseason to embarrass ourselves.
I think there's a lot of people that feel that and
Yeah.
have already written it off. At this point, I think viewership is going to show that as far as the games go. You're going to see a little drop off there because I think people will do that. And I understand, hey, let's just go ahead and start planning for next year. The thing is, you're not looking at an overhaul for next year. So started thinking about, now I'm not talking about pitching here, but let's look at that Braves lineup. As you're going in 2025 opening day roster, do you see any changes in your infield? Because I don't.
No.
Who would you replace?
There's not one.
Okay.
When they're all when they're all healthy, of course.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Let's assume everyone's there, everyone's back. What do you change in that infield?
Maybe I could see Arcia, but at the same time, no, because defensively he's awesome.
I mean, and he's played really well lately. That would have to be one heck of a shortstop.
Exactly.
And we're getting great value on Orlando Arcia. So then the question is, okay, your outfield. Well, Ronald Acuna Jr.'s in right field.
Yep. Mike in
That's
center.
not changing. Michael Harris is second in center. That's not changing. That only leaves left field. Do they make a move? Do they move on from Jared Kelenic as an everyday player, as a starter, and bring someone else in? You have what is essentially 2 DHs. Mm-hmm. I mean, is there any doubt in anyone's mind that Jorge Soler is a DH?
No, and there shouldn't be after the series that we're going to get into against the Rockies. But you have 2. You have Ozuna and Soler.
And the Braves are already going to exercise that option on Marcel's other year.
Right.
And so Marcel's not going anywhere. So looking at who is untouchable, who cannot, that you feel utmost confidence is going to be here. There's a pretty long list of players that I would apply that to. So like Austin Riley's not going anywhere. He's these are like backbone, locked in, face of the franchise type guys. Ozzie Albies, Matt Olson, Austin Riley, obviously Ronald Acuna Jr., Michael Harris II, Sean Murphy. So those are guys I just listed to you that they're not going to go anywhere.
Even d'Arnaud, I don't foresee him going.
Yeah, I think that would just depend probably more on Travis d'Arnaud
Right.
and what he wants to do and how much longer that he wants to continue
his
playing.
future.
So that is it for position players. Now, will the pitching staff look different? Absolutely.
Yes.
And when does a team just completely carry over their pitching staff? It's always going to be some tweaks
For sure.
there. But I think you could see more than just tweaks with the Braves. And a lot of that depends on what they do with Max Fried. When the season is over and we're doing a few off-season episodes here, we're going to talk a lot about that.
We are, because I don't know about you, I don't foresee a world in which the Braves bring him back. I don't think for the quality that the Braves are receiving right now, it'd be worth it to spend that money. Friend of the show, Duke of Denim, Reed Taylor, he thinks he could be in a Dodgers uniform. And we both said that would not surprise us in the slightest.
No.
Personally, I think that's where he'll go.
It would cause tears to come out of my eyes. And
He's a California kid.
But I could, I'm the same as you, wouldn't surprise me at all. So a lot will hinge on that. And I'm with you. I don't feel that the Braves re-sign him. I would like for them to re-sign him. I don't think that they will. And so regardless, there will be changes regardless, but a lot of that will be shaped by, is Max Fried a Brave or not?
Yes, and I think that one point that we need to touch on is our epic collapse yesterday. Thank goodness that we didn't overhaul and have a brand new roster right now and sell all of our prospects for that World Series run, because look where we're at.
Yeah. So
I would rather have the lineup we have come opening day than anything else. I'd rather have the prospects that we have still secured at this point because in my eyes, there's nothing to lose.
Right. So keep in some perspective. Who are the Braves right now? Okay, not based on how we're feeling because we're all feeling pretty bad. But who are the Braves? The Braves are 61-56. The Braves are 3-7 in their last 10. That sounds terrible. Well, they're still 7.5 games back. It hasn't gone up to like 10 games back.
And what's interesting is that if you were to ask a Braves fan right now how many games back they feel like the Braves are from the Phillies, I'm not kidding. I think some people say 12 to 15. Because it feels like that.
And the Braves just, the embarrassment of Milwaukee and now this embarrassing Colorado series at Coors Field, and Coors Field's crazy, by the way. Crazy things just happen there. They're right now a playoff team as of today.
Yeah.
They're 4 games back on the Diamondbacks and the Padres, and they're a half a game up on the Mets. The Giants are in the mix on that. The Cardinals are in the mix on that. You referenced Duke of Denham earlier. We were talking with Reed before. There's a very real possibility that the National League West has 4 playoff teams in that division.
It's insane.
So right now you've got 3 with the Dodgers, Diamondbacks, and Padres. All those teams playing very well, and the Giants are just right there, creeping on the knocking on that door, creeping at the doorstep. And so that's where the Braves sit as we now recap, because we have to do it, EG.
We do.
We don't want to do it.
We don't want to do it. I do want
have to recap
start
that Colorado
the combo
series.
with yesterday still only counts as 1 loss. I know we all know it, but it's good to hear it.
It is good to hear it.
That is 1 loss compounded with Milwaukee, compounded with just the last few weeks. It feels really different, but that's how we're going to preface it. Only 1 loss in the column. The Phillies and Mets are also... The Phillies could have taken more advantage of the Braves' plunders, and they haven't. Still 7 games back.
Yeah. Like Sam's point there, Samuel Riley, I don't see Ronald Acuna playing 162 next year. Hard to argue with him there. And I don't foresee him DHing with Ozuna. They will need another quality outfielder. I agree, and I do think that you see that. I just don't know exactly how it plays out, if that's, a strong bench, if there's a platoon situation, or what that is. We're going to get to that a little bit. We're going to play a little who's hot, who's not.
Let's do it.
So first on the Rockies series. So game 1 was the 5-6 loss. We did see, we talked so much about the success of last year and good starts. Marcel has a homer in the first inning. Then we see, this was pivotal to me in that game. Second inning, Sean Murphy has a triple, and he was hauling, by the way. The big fella was moving, right?
I loved the call. It's like when a fat guy gets a touchdown.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
So triple, 1 out, by the way. Braves get nothing out of that. That was huge.
It was, and I think that was when, at least for my family, as we're watching, it was like, all right, let's settle in. This is not going to go well.
Right. So Jared Kelenic was 3 for 4 in that game. He had a double and scored 2 runs. You had some 7th inning magic there. Ramon Laureano has a homer, and then a guy that would really make his mark in this series, Jorge Soler, has a homer. That's all in the 7th inning. And so the Braves get close, but they cannot come back. The Rockies just sprinkled runs throughout that game. Really, they did that the whole series.
Yeah.
And so they take game 1, 5-6. That's a really, really bad start. Game 2, 11-8 win. Not a pitcher's duel in game 2. The Rockies get to a early lead, so it's really looking bad at that point. Second inning, the Rockies are up 3-0.
Yeah.
Now, coming off the loss the night before, that's a bad feeling. And then Matt Olson, the grand slam. What about that?
I mean, it was everything that you wanted in that moment. And I think that what's interesting, and you kind of touched on it, what the Rockies did so well is they were more consistent in their runs. For the Braves, it felt like there was really big innings and then
I agree.
Absolutely nothing. For example, the Matt Olson grand slam, really big inning. Luckily, we came away 11-8, but it felt like you couldn't get any continuity, any consistency.
Every time you'd come out with a lead, Colorado would immediately answer. So Matt Olson grand slam, Braves in the driver's seat. Well, by the 3rd inning, it's tied. It's 5-5. So they're just tallying on runs. Marcell Ozuna has a homer there in the 5th inning, and then Jorge Soler, another home run. So those are, game 1, game 2, both of those guys homered in both of those games. That's Jorge Soler's was in the 6th. But then by the end of the 6th inning, it's tied again. It's 8-8. That felt kind of, so we saw that every time the Braves would do something, Colorado had an answer for it.
And that's something that I think we've talked about and touched on. The Braves have struggled to find an answer in those types of situations. And it was what Colorado did well. And I think that we're so used to the Braves having that response where no matter the deficit, we'll have a great 3rd inning. We'll have a great 6th inning and we'll get 5 runs on you. But this season that hasn't happened, and they struggle to pull away at this point too.
There's no stepping on the throat there, right?
No.
You have these big runs. The teams are coming right back in it. So 7th inning, Matt Olson has another home run after a Marcell Ozuna double, and then in the 8th, of course, another Jorge Soler home run. So you get the win, 11-8. Matt Olson and Jorge Soler had to homer twice to get that win. Okay, that brings us to hello, darkness, my old friend.
Literally.
Yesterday. So let's just go ahead and get into it. 8-9 loss. Again, start off hot with an Austin Riley home run in the 1st inning. Darno, 2-run home run in the 4th inning, right? So it's 3-2 in the 7th. Jorge Soler, who is absolutely on fire, 3-run home run. It's now 6-2. We get another Jorge Soler home run in the 8th inning. Back-to-back games with 2 home runs. At that point, in the 8th, as you're going into the bottom of the 8th, Colorado's coming up to bat. The win probability for the Atlanta Braves, 8-2 is the score. 99.2% win probability.
99.2.
And so we all see what happens. We see the collapse. Spencer Schwellenbach, I did want to mention this yesterday. Really the only what I thought was just pitching stat that stood out in a positive manner.
Yeah, I agree.
Not like his best game. He gave up 6 hits, but only 2 earned runs, 6 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts. Another good start from him. He's been an encouraging
beacon.
Yes, he has. So
where it all falls apart.
A real change in what we've been seeing, partner, in that it's the pitching letting the team down and the offense is doing its part.
Yes, and we, quite frankly, have not seen this really all season.
Not in any consistent way, we haven't, no.
So what sticks out, Luke Jackson. I know we're all thinking it. We have to talk about him.
So you discussed this on the next round today. And one thing, just to point out, the Braves did not go shopping for Luke Jackson. Luke Jackson was included in that Soler deal.
He was not shot for. He was included. It feels very similar to 2018, 2019 with him. And I said this on the next round. I'm very hesitant. We have to call a spade, but he still is a major league pitcher. And he seems very well liked by teammates. He had a great performance for the Braves in the 2021 World Series. But his last 2 games that he has been a part of have gone very, very wrong. And it's almost like you can see exactly where it goes wrong. And it is the same number on the mound.
Yeah. Some good comments here in the chat I want to get to. Samuel Riley pointing out it's 1 loss, but blew up 2 of our setup guys.
Exactly.
It feels like that's
so
true. A lot of problems in that pitching staff. Also, Brian Snicker made sure to point out there's no more extra rest. Everyone's getting regular rest. That's done. We can't afford to do that anymore.
We have said that.
Yeah.
We have continually said that I was starting to get frustrated just as a fan watching what was taking place because it didn't make sense.
And I think it's good to point that out because in fairness to the bullpen, they've taken on a heavy workload, right?
They have.
So that's good perspective to have. Goose, as a Falcons fan, this feels super familiar. Is the team awful? No. There's spurts of good and great. Do I think they'll do anything meaningful? Absolutely not. Again, I agree. I think if they get into the playoffs, they're a first-round bounce. Robert, Mets are currently getting skull-drugged by the Mariners. Watched some of that last night. That Seattle team is really impressive, by the way. And so the Mets, similar problem with the Braves as some on their own, some is gifted to them. They have this momentum. How do they react to it? And certainly not as well as they could have.
No.
So looking at going back to Jorge Soler and Luke Jackson, they came from San Francisco. Whereas San Francisco, as the Braves begin a 4-game series with them tonight, 61-59, and so they've played more games. They have the same number of wins, but they just happen to have 3 more losses. Very much in the playoff hunt, although despite being 4th in their division, which is crazy. Tells you all about what you need to know about the NL West right now. Do have those pitching matchups. Those are 8:45 start times, by the way, for games 1, 2, and 3, which is a little late.
Let me check in real quick. I just saw the banner go across the TV that AJ Minter is back on the IL. Did I miss that?
Oh, I did not. I was not aware of that. You look that up. I'm going to go over these pitching matchups here. So tonight, big one. Blake Snell, who is playing really well as of late, taking on the ace of the Atlanta Braves, Chris Sale. Game 2, Kyle Harrison against Charlie Morton. Game 3, Robbie Ray against Grant Holmes. So Grant getting another start there. And then Game 4, Logan Webb taking on Max Fried. Now that Game 4 is a 2:45 Central Standard Time start. So 8:45 for games 1, 2, and 3, and then 2:45 day game before the Braves go to Anaheim to take on the Angels.
All right. So per Grant McCauley, he's a great follow on Twitter.
Yeah, Grant is awesome. If you're not following him on X, I highly encourage you to do so.
Braves recalled left-handed pitcher Dylan Lee, but it comes at the expense of losing one of their best relievers. Atlanta had to place left-handed pitcher AJ Minter on the 15-day IL with left hip inflammation for the 2nd time this season. That was posted at 12:04 this afternoon. So breaking news from the Pennant Grace per Grant McCauley. Yeah.
We should just cry together and just let it all out. I think that would feel better. Yeah. What do you say?
It seems par for the course at this point.
So, by the way, going back to that outfield real quick, don't know if you saw this, but Eddie Rosario did opt for free agency, so we'll see if someone picks him up. Obviously did not play well for Atlanta, did not play well in Washington as well, which is why they released him. And then a cool thing, I'm sure a lot of you saw this, but the Speedway Classic. So Saturday, August the 2nd of next year, the Braves taking on the Reds at Bristol Motor Speedway in Bristol, Tennessee. Very, very cool. We may need to try to attend that one.
I think so too.
That would be a lot of fun. Bristol, a really cool track. We've never done this. I've never seen anything like this. This could be a lot of fun.
I think it'll be a really cool thing. I'm looking at all the comments.
Good teams for that too. So if you're not familiar, Bristol in the northeast corner of Tennessee, and so who would be the best possible opponent for Atlanta to play there? And to me, that's Cincinnati, and so I really like that. That's a cool thing. We talked about before that we are going to play a little hot and not. Before we get to that real quick, just want to remind folks, of course, we'll be back here on Thursday, and so we'll have the first 3 games of that Giants series, and then Game 4 going later that day, 12:15 Central, joining us here on the Pennant Grace. That evening, we will be at Walk-On's Stadium Trace in Hoover.
So come on out, come see both of us. I will be in studio both days this week. We haven't had that in a while.
And I know.
I've been on the road. So again, normal schedule. But if you want to come see the Pennant Grace, we would love to have you at the next round's 4th anniversary, 4th party, 3rd year doing this. And it'll be a great time. It starts at 5 till whenever. So we'll be there hanging out. Come by, check us out. We'd love to chat about the Braves. Hopefully we're chatting about all the good things that have happened.
We'll love to see it. Now, if you want to get on my partner's good side, let me tell you how you can get on our bad side. A friend of the show, Todd Furman, did this last week with EG when she was on the next round, sharing those co-hosting duties. I don't know if you picked up on this, but he called her Emily. Now, here are things that you can call my partner. EG, which is what I call her.
Yes.
MEG, which is really what most people called you at Georgia Southern.
Yes, I was known as MEG.
And, of course, the full if you're not into the whole brevity thing, man, you can call her
Emily
Grace, but you don't call her
No.
Emily.
No, it's a Southern thing, the double name, and it just doesn't feel like my name.
She doesn't like that.
Nope.
So don't do it.
Yeah,
It may get you kicked out of walk-ons. is what
And
may happen.
my partner here, we have very peculiar names, I guess you could say. We're very precarious about what we're called.
Well, so that's not so much me. So Ush is my nickname. I've had it
Ush.
my whole life, and some people have some trouble with the pronunciation. The way I can tell people is push without the P.
Ush. Not
Yeah.
Ush.
Right.
You could say Josh.
You
'cause that is
could.
his
I'd
real
answer.
name.
I will answer to anything, including Emily.
Yeah.
Okay, who's hot, who's not? This is going to blow your mind when I get into this because you think we got a heavy on the not and pretty
You'd be
light on the hot.
surprised.
You'd be
You'd be
surprised.
surprised.
So I'm going to go last 7 games for all of these guys, okay?
All right.
Now listen to this. Sean Murphy, 304, last 7 games.
Hot.
Orlando Arcia, 321.
Hot.
I wouldn't get rid of that guy. Now, Matt Olson, 269, but that's including 2 home runs and 8 RBIs.
Hot.
Austin Riley, 367 with 3 home runs and 8 RBIs himself.
On fire.
He's been fantastic. Someone we don't talk about, and he's injured right now. You see it coming, touched first base awkwardly. Ramon Laureano have had some mishaps defensively for sure, but 333 in his last 7.
Hot.
You wouldn't have guessed that
No.
if I hadn't told you that,
Oh my
right?
goodness.
I would
No
not
way.
have known that.
No way.
And then, of course, Marcell Ozuna, 310 with 3 home runs. He's got 35 dingers on the season. Marcell having a great season. And then, last but not least, how can I not talk about it enough? After a little slow start in Atlanta, Jorge Soler. Soler power is back. 370, 4 home runs, and 9 RBIs in his last 7 games.
There is something about a Braves uniform on that man that just makes him come alive.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it. But I do think, chat, let us know the consensus. You would not expect those numbers after the
No,
record.
you wouldn't. And so, I mean, I'm sure that Jorge is like, let's just stay in Coors Field. This is perfect for me. I mean, he just owned that place. Who's not? We got to balance these things out. Who is not hot? I got one name. Now, there's a lot of people kind of in the middle. Don't want to bring those up. And then there's other guys, because the Braves are playing so many people, if there's not a lot of at-bats, I don't want to include them in
Yeah.
either one of these lists. We love him, but guys, Adam Duvall is batting 0.59 in his last 7 games. He's had 17 at-bats. He has 1 hit.
It's not good.
It's
But
not good.
We have said from the beginning we are very pro Adam Duvall show. His last, 7 games? Not proven kind.
No. And really has just not played well since rejoining the team.
No.
All right, so we've got a big series here in San Francisco. West Coast trip continues after that, going to Anaheim. As we're watching our team and keeping up with our team, this is the time of year where you better be checking scores other than Braves scores. Because even if the Braves play poorly, if the other teams they're contending with also play poorly, the Braves could still find themselves in the playoffs. If other teams in this discussion get it together, the Braves are in trouble. But a
Exactly.
lot of what the Braves, and that we talked about that last week, not controlling your own destiny.
Yes.
The Braves are at the mercy of also what these other teams are doing. So they certainly can play their way in. We have seen countless times teams that just get hot in October, that late into the season. And, you know, when you're jumbled up like that, and if that wild card race is close enough, then you can find yourself soaring up pretty quick.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it many times. There's no better time to get hot than late September, early October. But one thing for me that's sticking out is now the Braves are going to play the Giants, and they're not a bad team. What have I said? I have been more worried about the teams that we should be beating. I feel right now, Monday, August 12th, that I think the Braves will fare well against the Giants. I think that the Braves will fare well against the Phillies at the end of this month. The Braves are 4-2 against them. But it really is a matter of taking advantage of what's going on around you, because really nothing changed after this horrendous series.
Yeah, I
Rockies.
had a good conversation with a friend of the show, Gary Brown, at church yesterday. Big Red Sox fan, and he said, the Red Sox do a really good job of beating the teams they're supposed to, and don't do as good of a job against the elite teams. And Atlanta's different in that. Yeah, Atlanta, and you pointed it out pretty early on in the season that Atlanta has really struggled, and I think it's maybe the most important stat of the season. They've struggled against teams that they should beat.
Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting. And the month of August, there's still a lot of games to go.
I just feel like we're headed towards this kind of photo finish. As we go into like the last week of the season, I think there is going to be a lot of teams. You're going to have 5 teams in serious contention for the 3 wild card spots.
Yep.
Because I don't think now San Diego and Arizona are playing so well. There is a possibility. Ain't nobody overtaken Philly, and nobody has overtaken Milwaukee. I'm shocked if either one of those happen. Those 2 teams are winning their division. I feel less confident about the Dodgers, and it's not so much about the Dodgers, it's just the competition in their division.
Right.
But I still feel like those teams that have led those divisions all year do so, but I think we're going to see a pretty wild finish to that wild card race.
Yeah, and I do think that there's benefits to the Braves securing that wild card spot. Now, think about this. If the Braves get hot, the best case scenario could be that wild card spot, because there's no dreaded break that's longer than the All-Star break.
Right.
So there is still hope to be had. There's still a lot of baseball left to be played. This time in a month, we may be saying a different tune, because it'll be about 3-ish weeks really left of the season. I guess maybe 2. But with that being said, I think that the Braves are still in a spot, but it is coming down to when are they going to get hot, when are they going to put it together? Because we've been saying it all season. It's, to me, now or never.
And regardless of what the Braves do, the Pennant Grace is hot.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that right now.
Of course.
And Roback is hot, especially when you got a code at the end. You got to crack the code, man. PG20 when you check out. And we got just a little drop in humidity, and it just reminded me that lightweight hoodie season is right around the corner. It's maybe the best time of the year. Some people call it other things. They'll call it fall. I call it lightweight hoodie season. There's no better lightweight hoodie than the hoodie that you're going to get at Roback.com. Code PG20, saving you 20%. Thursday's going to be hot. We're going to be around a lot of friends. Cannot wait to meet a lot of the loyal viewers of the Pennant Grace. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We cannot wait to see you guys. Like we said, a normal schedule, Monday and Thursdays. This has worked for us, and we want to thank y'all again for letting us know how you like to view the show. We're still working on getting this in podcast form. Hopefully by the end of the season, we'll have that up and running for you guys to continue listening and being loyal viewers of the Pennant Grace.
Before we go, look at that last stat from friend of the show, Travis Millsaps. After the 40-18 start, the Phillies are 29-31 in their last 60. So they've come back to earth. It's amazing that no one has taken advantage of that.
No. No.
So
crazier things have happened.
No one's catching them in that division.
No one is, but we are an optimist here at the Pennant Grace. Crazier things have happened.
That's right.
Let it be known. We are not calling it a no playoff for the Braves. We are still very confident the wild card spot will be secured by the Atlanta Braves. She's going to take the side that it'll be a first-round bounce. I'm not going to make a prediction yet.
Okay.
Give me until September 12th in a month, and I'll have my official one.
I'm going to hold you to it.
Okay. That'll be fun to do. And I guess we'll see what day of the week that is, because it probably won't be a Monday. With all that being said, follow us at The Pennant Grace on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We love, love, love to hear from you guys. We love to run into you at Braves games. Hopefully we'll get to a few games before the end of the season. Because have you been to one?
Not yet.
Okay.
Still got to do it.
Maybe you'll be the juju that we need to shake things up.
Maybe.
We'll see. We have been called a jinx, by the way.
Yeah. Mainly from people that work here.
Yeah. We're not claiming that.
No, we're not. We don't believe in that.
We do not. You guys have a great night. Or great afternoon. We will see you back here Thursday, 12:15 Central. Don't miss it. Hopefully we're recapping a great series.